This came out on Twitter a few days ago. Hem hem. One tale was related to us in the past few days that is said to have occurred in the 16-17 season.
This is from the Toronto Sun, right?
Yes. Okay. During the annual Father's Trip, Babcock was alleged to have asked one of the Leafs rookies to list the players on the team from hardest working to those who, in the eyes of the rookie, didn't have a strong work ethic. The rookie did so, not wanting to upset his coach, but was taken aback when Babcock told the player who had been listed at the who had told the players who had been listed at the bottom. So he got Mitch Marner to say, "Hey, who doesn't work hard on this team?" Mitch is like, "Oh, by the way, yeah, this is directed." Mitch Marner said, "You know what? I don't want to piss off my coach. I'm going to do this." So Babcock got the list, went to these players and said, "Hey, you know, Mitchie doesn't like you." Now, a lot has come out about this. And Babcock came out, apologized today about some of it. This, by the way, came out right after Steve Dangle recorded his podcast, which is hilarious. Friedman came out to say earlier he reached out to Babcock, and via text, Mike said, "I was trying to focus on work ethic with Mitch, focusing on role models. Ended up not being a good idea. I apologized at the time." Then, also, they got a quote from Mitch saying, "It was just surprising. I was lucky enough that the guys that were there with me, none of them took it to heart, and they knew it wasn't up to me." Now, may I read you the Rachel Dory thread?
Well, I know the Rachel Dory thread. Do you want to...
For the listeners.
Okay.
So, it's from Rachel Dory. Former executive before used to work for the New Jersey Devils. Of course, I have a massive crush on her. Who doesn't? Love listening to her talk about hockey. And, of course, has her own podcast. It's not as good as ours, but it's decent, with Ian Graff. Not to burst anyone's bubble, but this kinda, in brackets, Babcock, stuff happens within front offices and dressing rooms all the time. It's awful, but it's more common than you think. My point is, this is a massive issue within hockey. It isn't only Babcock. Other people, including front office personnel, do this. It is a culture issue, and it needs to be addressed. No one should have to deal with that. The other issue, there are definitely certain media members that knew about this and chose not to report it. They sat on it until Babcock was fired. This is the problem, too. There's a lot to unpack there, Alex.
Listen, there's... Okay, so I know a lot of people went after her for saying, because she said, but it's more common than you think. That's what I saw a lot of pushback on. Sure, she didn't phrase it properly, but I think the general idea was there, right? That this happened, yes, it's not right. In her first tweet, I don't see anywhere where she's saying it happened, it's not right, but it happens anyways. No one, I don't know where people are getting it confused. I'd love to hear where people are getting it confused, just for my own, just to kind of understand what's going on. But when I read it over, I got the idea that she's saying, listen, these things, what happened with between Mitch Marner and Mike Babcock is not right, but it happens. It happens a lot more than people realize.
I don't get how people could have misunderstood this. I think you're a bit silly if you don't get what she's saying. Again,
I like to hear someone's perspective of if they misunderstood it. So if anyone's listening and thought she said she was trying to say something else, please let us know what you thought she was trying to put across.
Again, this is someone who has worked for an NHL team before. So she has a lot more insight to this kind of stuff than a lot of other people do. And again, what we're not talking about is it's really scummy by Mike Babcock, isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't want to get there yet because I have one other thing I'm not 100% on.
What more? Sorry, you cut out there.
I don't want to get to the the specifics yet, like my opinions on Mike Babcock and the situation. I just had one, not problem, just maybe kind of disagreement with one of the things she said in her thread about the media members. Now, I don't know if let me pull it up. Let me pull up Ian Tulloch's tweet. Now, the thing is she like, if you can't prove it, I don't know if it's something you should. Here, okay, Ian says, I heard about this Babcock story when it happened, but I didn't want to bring it up until I could confirm it was true.
That was Ian, wasn't it?
That was Ian.
Her co-host on her podcast.
So that's where I find it difficult to say, I don't know if that's something you bring up while he's working for the Leafs. And here's why. It's not about doing the right thing. And it's really bad to say, but at the end of the day, all these people need their connections inside the Leafs. And if you release a story like this while Babcock is coach, imagine the backlash you get from the team.
That's tough.
It's a line you have to, like, it's a difficult line to cross.
Well, we went in. It's a big argument. When should somebody report on it or not? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously we had this. We didn't talk about it on the show, but the whole Anthony. I'm sorry. What was her name? Andy from TSN.
Andy Petrillo.
Angie Petrillo and her thing about reporters shouldn't let Mike Babcock get away with the whole family thing. I disagree with that. And I mean, Alex, we're journalism students, and when you're in a big market like that, and you do have a source, I understand if you're not wanting to try and, you want to toe the line with those people. You really don't want to say something wrong that's gonna cause a rift in that relationship. Like, Elliot Friedman talks about just the number of contacts he gets from writing an article for 31 Thoughts and how destructive that stuff can be. Imagine if you're the person who reports on that. I get what Rachel's saying, and I do agree that, is it wrong that they sat on it and waited, is it certain reporters until he was gone? Was that wrong? Yes, but then I understood that there were other people like Ian who wanted to wait or didn't want to damage relationships with people. It's a risk they have to take in some instances, but at the same time, I get if you don't want to. I wouldn't have reported if I knew.
Yeah, it's a difficult line, and it's whether you cross it or not is touch and go. For me. Now, since we're on the Babcock train, you didn't bring this tweet up, but this is a tweet from Darren Dreger. He had a text exchange with Babcock, who says he was focusing on role models and trying to work on Marner's work ethic at the time. Says it wasn't a good idea. He apologized to Mitch.
Yeah.
So there was something about work ethic going on with Marner. I don't know what it is, but this is a tough. Like, obviously, I don't agree with what he did. It's very.
It's how you lose trust in your players.
Right. This is the text I just got while we were recording. Did you see this is from a Leafs fan, someone I know. Did you see the Babcock Marner story today? What an egomaniac. I'm glad he's gone. And he goes, honestly, though, the money got to him. He got a god complex, and it was noticeable even for an outsider like me. It's been noted that, or it's not been noted, it's kind of known that he probably has the biggest ego in that room.
Yeah.
When John Tavares was named captain, that probably didn't mean a single thing. At the end of the day, Mike Babcock was the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs and has been the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs for the last 4.5 years. That is a problem. Because I get, and there's always been problems. There's not always been problems. Why is it that Mike Babcock twice had to go to Arizona to talk to Austin Matthews? That's a start. That's already starting concern. This is a Travis Dermott interview from Saturday. He goes, the boys want to play for him. When he's talking about Sheldon Keefe. He lets us play to our skill, and that's exactly what we needed. Do you see where the problem is?
Yes.
He wants them to play a very specific way that the team is not suited to play. Kyle Dubas created this team in one vision. Mike Babcock wants to play this team with another vision.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
This was Jeff Merrick kept trying to get this answer, and I wish somebody had just given him to him, because we all know what it is. He asked Justin Boyd, he asked Brian Burke, and he asked Anthony Stewart. Was this team, Alex, built for Sheldon Keefe?
Okay. Because obviously I'm not an insider. On paper, it looks like it's built for Sheldon Keefe, but I don't know if the thing is, I don't know if Kyle Dubas thought in his head, you know what? No, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to go with my gut. I think he built this team for Sheldon Keefe. Because why are you paid Sheldon Keefe how much money to stay with this team? He's the highest paid coach in the AHL, or he was the highest paid coach in the AHL, probably by a long shot when he signed his contract extension. Why do you do that with a coach? Why wouldn't you let him walk? It was the same reason when we knew Lou Lamoriello wasn't going to be the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it was between Mark Hunter and Kyle Dubas. I knew that Kyle Dubas was going to be the next manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Why? Because they stopped him from going to Colorado. They stopped him from the interview. This team was built for Sheldon Keefe.
Good.
I don't think anyone can prove it though, and I don't think Sheldon Keefe. I don't think Kyle Dubas would admit it.
Oh God, no. He's too savvy for that.
Now, I know you want to get to the Mike Commodore and Mark Frazier tweets, but I just wanted to bring up one point from the SDP again that I thought was interesting. So Adam Wilde was trying to get the point across that Babcock needs to figure out why people don't like him. And we all know that's not going to happen. We know, okay, Mike Babcock is a stubborn guy. If Mike Babcock didn't change for this hockey team, like, he's not going to go outside and figure it out himself. He doesn't care. He doesn't care what people think of him. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, you can say both. But Mike Babcock doesn't care what people think of him. He's going to do what he's going to do. Right? So that he didn't change, right? Remember, Kyle Dubas came out and said everyone is going to be evaluated, including Kyle Dubas. I thought that was a load of horse crap. Thinking on it now, I think it's easy to say it was good that the Leafs kept Babcock, because if Sheldon Keefe came in at the beginning of the season and they didn't start as well, it would have been an absolute nightmare. Like, it would have been worse. You thought Toronto was bad now. Imagine Toronto without Mike Babcock. But at the same time, it would have been good to have Sheldon Keefe starting the season, because then you can implement his style, and that goes on. Oh God, this situation is so messy.
Yeah.
I personally, I don't like. Listen, I don't like kicking people when they're down, and I'm not trying to. I guess I'm commenting on Mike Babcock, the coach, not Mike Babcock, the person, because from everything else I hear, Mike Babcock outside of hockey is a great guy. And then I have to see these tweets from former players, one who never played a game under Mike Babcock, and the other whose career was quote unquote ruined by Mike Babcock. So, do you want to get into the Mike Commodore and Mark Frazier stuff?
So I've only seen Commodore. I didn't see anything about Frazier. I didn't want to go into too much detail. I just wanted to point out that I get if you don't like somebody, Mike Commodore, but taking pictures of them when they're packing their stuff and putting it online is a bit much.
No, it's freaking ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I mean to say this. Mike Commodore is a bit of a loser.
Man, I get it. It's one thing to not like someone, and it's another thing to hate them. But this is like next level. This is legitimately next level. Listen, I've never hated someone to the point that I would do something like go out and literally just rip him on Twitter. I don't know. I just think it's freaking ridiculous.
Yeah.
And Mark Frazier, who never played a game under Mike Babcock, is out here defending Mike Commodore. Yeah, I get it. Mike Babcock wasn't your favorite person in the world. You never played a game for Mike Babcock. Leave it alone. Like it's simple as that. It's really simple as that. Like Mark Frazier, leave it alone. Mike Commodore, I get it. You hate the guy, but there's lines. There's lines you cross, like you don't cross.